So what was your favorite, or what has been your favorite pet?
Oh man. See, everyone's always like, "Oh, you can't pick a favorite." You totally can. My favorite is
Welcome adventures. This episode of the Reptile Show Reporter podcast features Anne Pannent from Delta Aquatics and Exotics. I met Anne at the BRM Expo in Fremont, Ohio. This particular expo is held the last Sunday of every month. Joining me today is the headmaster of the Chameleon Academy, Bill Strand. Now let's get on with the interview. Welcome, everyone. I am blessed to have a seasoned veteran podcaster in the co-host seat today. He currently has 3 active podcasts, the long-running Chameleon Academy podcast, the Reptile Entrepreneur podcast, and the new Niche Content Creator podcast. Among other credits, he co-hosts the YouTube with me Facebook Live and YouTube Live on Thursday nights. The headmaster of the Chameleon Academy, Bill Strand. Bill,
Hello, everybody. Doing great.
Excellent. Our topic today is Anne from Delta Aquatics and Exotics, who I met at the Fremont, Ohio Reptile Show. Anne, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, it's great to be here with you guys. I hope that my video and audio works this time, as last time was a little bit of ups and downs. So hopefully it'll go well today. But yes, I'm the owner and creator of Delta Aquatics and Exotics, based out of Cleveland, Ohio. I'm only 23 years old, and I've only had the company for about a year and a half. But I'm super excited to be a part of the reptile community, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future.
All right, awesome. So, what was your first pet? What got you started down this road?
That's a great question. My first kind of like reptile-based pet, because I've always had dogs, was actually a Russian tortoise, believe it or not. I still have her to this day. Her name is
Wow,
Maxine.
a Russian tortoise.
Yeah, she's awesome. They're fantastic.
How old is she?
Oh gosh, I don't know what age she was when I got her, but I had her since I was 8. So I've had her for a good long while now.
So, what was your favorite, or what has been your favorite pet?
Oh man. See, everyone's always like, "Oh, you can't pick a favorite." You totally can. My favorite is my leopard gecko Jazz. He's actually in this tank right behind me. I bought him when I was a freshman in college, and while I don't normally recommend that, he's really was my buddy that got me through college. And he's my first animal that I raised from a baby. He's going on 4 now, so he's getting older, but it really was awesome to kind of be able to go through the process of young to old, and he's just super well behaved, so gotta love that.
Wow. So I had actually had a iguana in college in the dorms. You weren't allowed to have them, but I did. But he lived under the tank stand. You're allowed to have fish. I had a fish tank stand. I kept him under there, and that was just a half a year. My sophomore or junior, I can't remember. My wife bought him for me. My first reptile that she bought me and got me down this road. But that was like, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago. So, hopefully the statute of limitations is up on that. It won't take my degree back and what have you. Anyways, so what would be your dream pet?
Oh man. Probably a dragon snake, if I'm being honest. I really want one, but they're so fragile that I know that they're just not ready, and I'm not ready yet to take the plunge of trying to bring them into captivity and breed them. I just saw that somebody found an albino one, and I'm obsessed, but they need more captive breeding. So please, if anyone's listening, don't just go get one. Okay, look them up. They're cool, but don't just go get one. They're very fragile.
All right. So why did you decide to start Delta? What was the impetus?
So I was in college, and I had always had a fascination with reptiles ever since I was a freshman, and I just found that I loved working with them, and I worked with a reptile kind of keeper. His name is Dennis. He also vends at the Fremont show. And I was just really amazed by the work that reptile keepers and reptile breeders do. And I found that as I was working with Dennis, I loved selling his things, But I was kind of like, man, I would love to sell my own stuff and like have my own stuff to promote and have my own animals and like know how they're raised and just be able to speak more for those animals. So I just kind of got started, actually not really by accident, but it actually started with giant day geckos. I had my day gecko, her name's Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and I just became fascinated by them, and she could like let me hold her, and like she was fantastic. And then I was like, well, I heard they're fairly easy to breed. I was like, let's just try that. And then I got a male, and now I have babies, and Delta Aquatics and Exotics was born.
Wow, that's a great story. So what else do you sell at Delta?
So we sell the giant day geckos. I sell corn snakes. I have chameleon geckos, crested geckos. I'm going to be having rosy boas soon. Hopefully this summer I'll be working with green tree pythons. I have 2 in my care right now, and I hope to start that adventure. But if you've ever looked into breeding green tree pythons, it seems like everything that can go wrong will go wrong. So we'll have to get all the odds and ends figured out for that. I've got some fire skinks, but they haven't produced yet. Same thing with Chinese cave geckos and red-eye crocodile skinks. But I'm letting them obviously do it on their own time. So whenever we get babies, we get babies.
Wow, that's a lot. That's more than I remember even you telling me. So that's interesting. Um, how did you get at the show? I mean, obviously you had someone who was there, you were helping them vend, and then you just vended on your own, or how did you decide to be at the show?
That's a great question. So I'm a really shy person. I have this really grand vision that I want to have like a YouTube channel, and if I'm being honest, I'm really shy. So I don't know if I could ever do it. But when I was in college, when I was a freshman, before I even had Jazz, I went to the show, and like I said, I was just overwhelmed with how awesome a reptile show is. I didn't even know those things existed. Like I went, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the best place ever. And I met Dennis, who's my boss, and I was like, hey, like just out of my comfort zone, which thank past me, because I don't know how I did this, but I was like, will you let somebody come and just like hang out with you? Like, will you let someone vend with you? Like, do you ever let somebody just shadow you? Because I'm in the pre-vet world. In pre-vet, you go to vet clinics and you shadow. So I was like, will you let me shadow you? And he was like, yeah, I always need help. Like, sure, just shoot me a Facebook message. And so I did. And then it took like forever to get the logistics worked out of like when I could go and what I could do and stuff. And so I started just vending with him a couple times per month. It wasn't even every month just because how busy I was. And then I got to know him really well. And so I got to travel to the Fremont show, which was used to be the Findlay show, used to be in Findlay, then moved to Fremont because of space reasons. And then Dennis goes to Columbus. So I got to go to Columbus a little bit, which is super fun. And then he has a show in Clarksville, so I got to go there one time, but my car broke, so I couldn't go again, unfortunately. But I went there, and then I found out there's a Cleveland show, and I was like, man, I would love to do that because I'm based out of Cleveland. And so, well, I then hopefully I got into there, and so I'm in for 2 shows at least as of now. But I've just kind of made my way, and eventually, once I started my own business and had my own stuff to sell, I got my own table and just did it that way.
That's awesome. Bill, any questions?
I'm actually interested in your how you choose what species you're going to work with because you have quite a variety.
That's a great question. Well, I wish I could say there's like a really cool, thoughtful way. It's mostly I really like skinks that are like people know about, but aren't like the blue tongues. Even though I have a couple blue tongues, I really like day geckos. I really love geckos. I want to get so many different species of day geckos. They're just hard to kind of come by sometimes. And then I just have different species that I think would work really well for like your typical beginner reptile keeper. So for example, corn snakes. I hope to breed leopard geckos in the future, crested geckos. And then I believe rosy boas are the next big thing. If they end up becoming the next big thing, I called it right now. But
All right, I was here.
I literally like they are like reading up about them and keeping them. I don't want to say they're easy to keep because no animal should ever be called easy to keep. That's just my personal view on it. But their care seems really able to narrow down and accomplish. Their feed they seem to feed really well, unless they're babies, but that's another thing. They're really personable. They have so many great colors. They're just I just love them. They're fantastic.
So where are the rosy boas from?
Rosy boas themselves are from Western United States. So I guess if somebody lives in like Western United States,
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, check
where Bill's at.
Check your local wildlife laws. But mine, I actually got mine from people in California, Bill. I don't exactly remember what the company's name. I wish I could shout them out. They were fantastic. They were so great to work with. I have a Limburg Snow Rosy Boa, so an all-white Rosy Boa, and he is beautiful. And then I have a female who's het for snow, so hopefully I'll get some all-white babies. Oh, I'm so excited.
So how big are they? They corn snake size, or are they?
They're smaller.
Are they bigger, or what do they grow to?
They're smaller than corn snakes. They don't get very large, which I think is another reason which makes them so awesome to keep as pets. I wish I brought. I have my corn snake and my day gecko care guides with me. I'm writing a Rosy Boa one, but I just didn't bring it with me. It's just in my other room. But they stay really small. They're typically not gonna be like anywhere close to colubrid, such as corn snake size. Typically about what my little sheet I have on my phone says, about 17 to 36 inches from nose to their tail. So really not that big, which is also awesome.
That's cool. And they come in all kinds of colors, huh?
Yeah, they
or morphs or what have you.
White, like a white and black stripe is typical of one area. So their morphs are basically based on their localities. So it's kind of similar to green trees, where if you've ever looked into green trees, their morphs or types are based on where they're from. So Bayaks are from Bayak, Arus are from Aru, stuff like that. And then they have different characteristics that some people can pick out like really quickly. I'm still learning. But same thing with rosies. They come from just different.
Kind of like our panther chameleons, huh, Bill?
Yep.
Panther chameleons
They're
are
very
like
much like our panther chameleons.
They're locales. Wherever they are in Madagascar, it's the way they look. You can tell, sort of, from the males. The females, you can't tell them apart. But at least you not definitively. But I'm sorry, I've interrupted.
No. I love that. I love that. I love learning about the different species and how they have their own little quirks like that.
Okay. So, what size cage do they need?
For the rosy boas?
Yes.
So typically for adults, I recommend about a 20 long. Obviously, I typically recommend bigger if you can, but since they're really not growing that large, something like a 20 long would be perfectly fine for these guys. They wouldn't really need anything too much bigger. The most important thing for rosy boas is...
Yeah, I have 2 of those in the basement that are empty. So, I'm sorry, not good.
The most important thing is substrate depth. They need a good bit of substrate because they like to burrow. So, burrowing is good.
What type of substrate do they like? Anything special or just a normal snake bedding?
So you can do aspen. I have a love-hate relationship with aspen bedding, mostly because if it gets wet, it molds really quickly, which is fun to deal with. But they actually really can't tolerate high humidity. So you can use things like cocoa fiber, but if it gets wet and it holds too much humidity, that can lead to respiratory issues. So some people will do like a topsoil sand mix, being a little bit heavier on the sand. I know every time someone hears sand in the reptile community, somebody's head explodes. I know. But doing a little bit of that mix there will keep that humidity down, but also keep them being able to burrow. So that's really the most important thing. Something that can hold a burrow, but not get too wet too quick.
Mm-hmm. What temperatures do they need? Anything above room temperature, or do you have to have a...
Yeah, they do have to have a basking area. Typically for these guys, it's going to be around corn snake temperatures. 85, basking about like 90 if you can do that. Don't really need anything crazy in terms of like heating both sides of the enclosure. Typically having that one area that's going to be really warm with the gradient going across will be good for those guys.
Wow, it sounds like I'm getting myself in trouble here again, Bill. Every time I put a guest on, I get something I need, and I've already bought two snakes from her already, an amel corn snake and a okatee, and so and my wife is looking at some of her day geckos, and we also have a Vlardi, which is the chameleon gecko, so I may need a female for that. So,
No problem.
oh man, that may be mine. That's like a week from tomorrow, right? So she'll be in nine a week from tomorrow.
I will.
Oh
I will
man,
be
this
there.
is looking bad.
Well, I am very interested in show dynamics, and so when you go to shows and you bring this variety, do you have people that know you for specific uh, reptiles? You have snakes, you have lizards. Uh, do you just have different communities of people who know you for day geckos, and then another group that knows you for rosy boas?
So, yes and no. The only reason I would say no is because I'm still relatively new in the showing circuit, the showing scene, I guess, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I have some people that do know me, that do hunt me down. I have some people that I've met and have been like, "Oh my gosh, do you remember blah blah blah?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I don't remember. I'm really sorry." Like I have a lady that used to bring me ice pods, and I met her the other day, and I remembered, and she was like, "Oh, well, actually, she talked to the wrong person. Was like, how are my isopods?" And the girl next to me was like, "What are you talking about?" And she was like, "Oh, you want to talk to her?" And pointed to me, and I was like, "Oh, like, hey, like, how's it going?" And I still have those isopods; they're doing really well. But in terms of the things that I breed and sell, I hope to one day become like the day gecko lady. I hope that someday when somebody has questions about like why is my day gecko struggling, they're gonna be like, "Oh, go talk to that girl. Like she does it. She knows what's up." But I think the biggest thing that I stress with my business as a whole is education. I put out free care guides for majority of the species that I sell. I'm still working on them. They take forever to write, edit, put professional photos on because I take all the photos myself and edit those photos. They take forever to do and to format, but I put them all out there for free. And I really stress that I want someone who buys from me to be able to connect with me. I never want someone to feel like they can't reach me, or if they have a problem, who do I buy from? I don't know. Like I can't talk to them. I have somebody who bought a day gecko from me actually, who texts me all the time and says, "Hey, I'm kind of struggling with this," or "How do you think my cage looks?" or "What would you do different?" And we still go back and forth, and I still talk to them to this day to help, any way that I can, to help people connect with their animals, and not feel like you just bought something and then, well, I don't know who that was, or I don't know like anything about them. Even encouraging people to contact me afterwards to receive the animal's date of birth and like feeding charts, and of course a care guide I try to send along as well. So I hope, like I said, I hope one day I can be like that girl that has like the day geckos and rosies and all these other things. But I'm also, like I said before, I'm really shy, so I need to work on branching out a little bit.
Well, it sounds like you're really putting a lot of work into these care guides. Uh, how, where do you house them? If somebody wanted to check into what you're doing, where are you? Where's your digital footprint out there?
So that's excellent question. Because I'm actually in the process of starting a website, which I don't know if you've ever seen the
All right.
commercials for like Squarespace or whatever, who are like, "Oh, it's super easy." Maybe I just struggle, but it is not easy to start a website. I have been working on it for about 2 months now, and it is hard. It is very difficult, but I'm persevering. I'm trying. I just bought a domain the other day, so I've done that. But I'm getting
Yay!
I'm getting the website up, with which will have access to all the care guides. I'm literally just copy and pasting from my Word document and throwing them up there so someone could print them off if they wanted to. And I hope to do some reformatting as we go to make them look even better, but it's really a work in progress. I do have a Facebook page. I don't really use it because I am still getting things going, and I've been really busy with school and work, but I'm working on it. And then, like I said, I try to just be present at shows, and so that way people can see me that way. And like I said, I want to start a YouTube channel. I'm just, every time I think about it, I put my phone down.
Okay.
I get too nervous.
Yeah, and in my other life, I run the Reptile Entrepreneur podcast, and I am dedicating the entire year of 2023 to helping people with the website, because it is such a jungle trying to sort through everything you got to sort through to really put together a website. Yeah, so yes, I know what you're going through.
Oh, it is so, and like,
but it's worth it. But it's worth it.
I watch these videos that are like tips for making your website stand out more, or like SOC or something about search terms or whatever, and I'm just like,
SEO.
I'm like, I have a degree in animal science. I passed organic chemistry. I like, woof, it's over my head. I don't know, over my head.
It's a totally different world and a totally different language. Yes.
Completely. I speak, well, I don't speak animal, but I speak, science. I can tell you how to breed things. I can tell you how to get humidities right. I cannot tell you how to format something so it fits into a certain amount of megapixels. I have no idea.
I understand.
Well, you're talking Bill's language now, man.
Yep.
That is what he's working on, and I'm actually following him and working on some of my own stuff. So, yeah, it'll be good to get back with you in a few months and see how things are going. Maybe 6 months to give you some time to see how things are going with the website and what have you. What's your domain name?
It's Delta Aquatics Exotics.com. Like I said, if you Google it, I don't think it comes up. I don't know why. I don't know. It says it's live. I don't know. I need to just.
Well, you just have to have it up, and you have to have it there for so much time. And Bill will tell you more stuff about it. But yes, we can chat about it offline. But definitely, we can help you with that.
I would love.
Google will find you. Don't you worry.
I love that. Because I own it. I own the domain. It's under my name, but. I don't know. Somehow people have been able to find me. I get notices on my store like, oh, I'd love to speak to this person who owns this. And I'm just like, I don't know how you found me, but you found me. Woo!
And if I don't properly put my old pages into draft mode, Google will find them. No matter, even if I break all the links, so there's no links to it, but I forget to put it in draft mode, Google will find them, put them up on the website, and somebody says, oh, what about this? It's, where'd you find that? Oh, great.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, good.
That Google, they just uncover all the dirt.
Oh, gosh. Oh, no.
Wow, it's definitely something I'm going to be learning from Bill. So I guess we'll tug you along and to as we go down this road. So we'll want to include you and go from there. All right, Bill. Any other questions for Anne?
Oh no! I think this is wonderful. I'm going to take us way down into the the show dynamics.
Okay, all right. What about other things that you have? We wanted to talk about day geckos on the show. Can you tell me about them?
Yes, I would love to speak about them.
We're talking about Phelsuma grandis.
Yes.
What is the experience of keeping a Madagascar giant day gecko as a pet?
So like I said, I'm biased because I think they're the best animals ever, but they are so fun. They are one of the best things about them is that they're diurnal, so they're active during the day, and you will see them all throughout the day doing all sorts of different things. They love to jump around. I have my male and female. They live together. They're a bonded pair, actually. They need to be together. They freak out. And my male, when I had him in this old tank, he would climb up to the side of the tank, to the one side, and jump across to the other, and go all the way back over, and jump across. And that's what he would do like 5-6 times, for just no reason. And my female would just stare at him, being like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And it was so, like, they're so funny. They're so funny. They're so interactive. They'll watch you if you're, like, moving around your reptile room. They want to watch you and see what you're doing. They love kind of observing what you're up to. Mine, I picked up and held my female the other day. I got bold because I watched that video from that guy, and I was like, you know what? I gotta keep working on mine. You know, I gotta keep mine being, you know, friendly, because mine are fairly friendly. And she was just like, all right, cool, you want to hang out? Sure, we'll just sit. And she like kind of like puffs up a little, like, oh, don't hurt me. But they're so interactive, they're so fun. They're great eaters. They're fantastic eaters. You put crickets in there, oh my gosh, you're gonna get a show. They will pounce, they'll like land on them, they'll flip them around. They also eat crested gecko diet, the best thing ever for animals to eat, in my opinion. So you can just put it on like a little spoon and they'll just come over and lick it off. So I just think they're so great.
Aw.
They're so great. They're so funny. They'll also chirp at you. My female does a little chirp occasionally. She'll just make these noises. And I'm just like, okay, that's cool. You do your thing. I'll be over here. You be over there.
So you're talking about some interaction that includes actually holding them?
Yeah. Believe it or not, I've got all my hands, I've got all my fingers, with no bleeding skin. I do try to take them out, especially for my babies.
Well, I'd be worried about them just jumping away.
Or running away. That is a fear. That is something that can happen. But I do try to handle them. The best thing to start with, if you're going to handle them, is I really say for any reptile, short amounts of time of positive interaction is better than a longer time out that's stressful and you're not having a good time. So if you want to get to 30 minutes with an animal, sure, you can get there, but they might be running around skittish, freaking out, pooping, doing all these things. You're not really having a good bonding experience then. If you're just, I need to get to half an hour. I need to sit with my animal for 30 minutes every night. It's like, no. If you sit with them for 5 minutes and it goes really well, that's a success. If you sit with them for 20 minutes and they don't do anything crazy, they just want to hang out, or they're just relaxed, have good, body position, not, pooping or breathing heavy or freaking out, that's fantastic. You can build as you go. But once again, something we talked about last show too, very briefly, was I think that a lot of the leopard gecko and crested gecko mentality has kind of bled into other animals. And I'm interested to see if you guys see this with chameleons of, well, I just really want to handle them. I really want to hold them. I really want them to sit with me for this amount of time, when maybe that's not how those animals work. Maybe veiled chameleons want to just chill in their enclosure, do their own thing. I don't know. Day geckos, sometimes they want to chill, do their own thing, hang out. And these animals aren't necessarily pulled all the time, especially with chameleons, I would assume. I think they're more, they hold you, right?
Yeah, well, if someone comes around here and says they want to hold a chameleon, we turn the fire hose on them. Yeah.
And we don't let up until they run away.
Yeah, there's no middle ground on that one. It's no, don't. We do have some interaction. There is some people try the interaction. There's some chameleons that are just, they're all individuals. So they can walk out. Some will walk out on you. I had a very somewhat frustrating video as I was standing in front of an open chameleon cage. And I was saying, listen, your chameleons don't want to come out. Leave them in the cage. And as I was doing this, the chameleon actually got out of the cage and started walking across my shoulder. It's like, great. Okay. So they have different personalities, but overall, generally we say, don't hold your chameleon. Feed them in the cage, hand feed them in the cage. That's a good way to interact. But many chameleons just get stressed out if you hold them. And enough chameleons get stressed out, and enough owners don't recognize those signs. So they push it way beyond that. It's just safest for all of us to say, don't hold your chameleon.
Exactly.
And there's over 200 species of chameleons. So even though they're individual, even the species are different. So, there's only really 3 that are common, but But yeah, that's definitely the case.
Exactly. And it's really the same when it comes to day geckos. And I would almost say that the giant day gecko is the best one for handling. Just because they have the size on their side. Neon day geckos, gold dust day geckos, peacock day geckos, and electric blue day geckos, for just some examples, are really they're not that big. They're pretty small as adults. I don't know the exact length. I don't keep those species yet, but they're not that large. So when you think about it, us as people, like, we're big. We're pretty large creatures for some of these animals. For us to be like sticking our hands in there, it's kind of intimidating. So a lot of times, yeah, they want to run away because they're like, wow, I don't know what that thing is. Like, I don't know if it's gonna crush me or if it wants to pet me, or I don't know. So their instinct is, hey, I'm probably gonna flee because that's the safer option here. But like I said, with the giant day geckos, they really do have the best ability to be handled because they have the size on their side with that. But like you said, every individual is different. That's why it makes me so sad that day geckos as a whole are just painted as these really scary tropical lizards that can bite you, that will run and you'll rip their skin off, when they're not necessarily like that. They're just lovely green lizards that maybe just want to hang out in their tank and have you feed them and watch them and enjoy them, you know.
You know, I think it would be a perfect thing for you to start a YouTube channel.
I'm agreeing. I actually think that was I was about to say the same thing, that would be an awesome YouTube. Just the whole a few minutes about how to hold a day gecko, a few minutes about different things, and so yes, you're going to do very well. We need to talk more about that in the future, but yes, that would be a great thing to do.
All right. I do have something on my mind here. You mentioned that you keep the day geckos together. Not only do they tolerate each other, but you're saying they actually want to be together and they need to be together. Is that correct?
So, obviously, I've never studied every single giant day gecko in the world. I have my two, Sunday and Monday. They So when I was redoing their tank, I moved them from an 18 by 18 by 24 into an 18 by 18 by 36. Um, I had a piece of cork bark that was expanding foamed to the back wall, and they could go behind it, not intentionally. They dug in there, and so my female, because she's spunky, dove it down in there, and I can't get in there without breaking it, which I didn't want to do. So I took my male and I moved him into the big tank. And day geckos show their feelings a couple different ways. They're oftentimes vocal. They're not as vocal as tokays. Tokays are known as tokays because they say tokay. They're not that vocal, but they do make some noise. They can be very, very, very active when they're frustrated, like continuously moving, breathing really heavy when they're really not having a good time. And they tend to darken up when they get very stressed. I can tell you that when they were separated, they were stressed. They were constantly anxious. I understand my female moving into a new cage, like, she's gonna be like, what is this? Like, what's going on? Why is it like this? But she wouldn't eat for me. She was really stressed out. She just was not having a good time. He was same thing, dark, really stressed out, constantly showing signs of concern. When I finally was able to get him out of there safely and move him into the big tank, they immediately jumped towards each other. They were just next to each other. They love hanging out near each other. Obviously, they are breeding pairs, they're breeding partners. I've heard it said that if you do separate giant day geckos that are breeding partners long term, people have a harder time getting them to breed again because they kind of look for that partner that they had. Obviously, I don't have a second set of day geckos, so I can't like swap it out and see if it'll work. But I know for my guys, they really do spend a lot of time together, and they really do seem to bond together, and they really value being with each other. When they seem to be separated, they show lots of signs of worry and concern. So I don't want to put humans' emotions into it because I know people will get mad about that. But if they're really happy being together and they show, there's never ever any signs of biting, aggression, and they'll show it because their skin, like we all say, they'll flake off, so they can see if they bite. You can see those marks. There's never any biting. There's never any disputes over food. Actually, that my female, when my male starts eating, she'll come over and be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And then she'll start eating, and he'll kind of back off a little bit. But they do seem to do really, really well together. Definitely would never recommend two males together. Just as with most species, that would be a disaster. That would be terrible. But I definitely think a pair of a male and a female. I've heard female and female, but once again, I've heard they can still have disputes, same-sex disputes. But male and female, they really seem to do really well together.
So, Bill, any final questions for Anne?
Well, where you plan on taking this?
Like,
what is your vision for the near future and the far future?
Oh man. Well, near future, I hope to get the website fully up and running, and like actually doing good. The far future, so my overall dream in life is to become a veterinarian. I have a degree in animal science with pre-vet, so I have all the classes for vet school. I was applying to vet school, and it's not going very well, but that's okay. It's all right. And I want to specialize in reptiles and birds if I ever get to veterinary school. We have a severe lack of veterinarians in this country, and especially less that see reptiles. I'm a veterinary assistant right now, and I can tell you it's really, and when I go to these shows, it's really, really sad to hear from people in the hobby who are really looking for vet care and can't find it, or don't feel safe and welcome going into a veterinary clinic because they're treated differently, or they're treated like their animals are weird, or oh, it's a snake, or oh, it's a whatever. It's really, really frustrating, and it's really sad to see. So I hope that one day if I become a veterinarian, I can kind of start to change the conversation that we have here as a whole. But the vet industry is a whole other thing. If anyone out here, and when we put it online, thank your vet techs. I'll say it right now because it's a very thankless career, just as a shout out for that, as a vet assistant. But I hope to do that. And then I really hope to just carry my business with me. But I think it'll always just be something that is a small passion project for me, breeding animals that I work with, that I keep. I keep all my animals in bioactive enclosures. They all get really good enrichment, and that's just something I want to keep going for my business. I never want it to get too large that I'm not involved enough to know what's going on with each of the animals.
Wow, that's great advice. I think Bill and I have many times in the live shows talked about, not getting beyond your scope, not getting beyond your numbers, and not because people start to build and they get an addiction and they just keep going and going and going, and they get to a number where they can't do it anymore and they have to reduce, and that's the saddest way to get to that point. You need to be wise about it. So I appreciate you being here today. I thank you for the time. It's been very fun getting to know you even better, and I think we're going to have you back in 3 to 6 months and get an update from you. I hope you're willing to do that. We'll say goodbye here and see you soon. See you at the Reptile Show.
Yeah.
It's been 3 months since this podcast was recorded, and great news. Anne was accepted to veterinarian school in New York. She promised me she would not forget us in her new capacity. To assure this, I agreed to foster some of her exotic pets while she settles into school, and could hold them hostage until she updates us again. All joking aside, we wish her well in her new career and look forward to great things from her.
Please join our Facebook group, Reptile Show Reporter, pictured here. Thanks.